over and over again, we are not comfortable with this level of immigration. I understand why. It doesn't make you a racist to say that. And yet, the liberal parts of, certainly in America, Alex Padilla said last week, he is our senator here, by reviving Trump's asylum ban, Biden has undermined American values. And then they all stand back and go, we don't want to be called a racist, so we will not make a move.
When even Bill Maher, one of Hollywood's most outspoken liberal voices, starts questioning America's immigration chaos, it's clear something's seriously wrong. You know the situation has gone off the rails when Maher sounds tougher on border policy than half of Congress. Let's be honest, this has been building for years. Ordinary Americans have been saying it all along. The current level of immigration feels overwhelming, and they're not wrong. That doesn't make them hateful or prejudiced. It means they're paying attention. But try explaining that to activists or party leaders who treat the word border as if it's offensive. Maher cut through the noise with brutal honesty. Wanting rules about who enters your country isn't racist, it's common sense. Yet, the liberal elite keep pretending that expecting order is somehow extreme. Take Senator Alex Padilla from California, for instance. He called President Biden's decision to bring back parts of Trump's asylum policy un-American. Really, since when did defending your country's boundaries become un-American? The mental gymnastics are staggering, and that's where Maher draws the line. He's done pretending that sanctuary cities were ever a good idea. According to him, the entire concept was flawed from day one. He warned Democrats about what would happen if they ignored the consequences, and they brushed him off. Now, the country is facing one of the worst immigration crises in recent memory. The irony, the very people who once demanded open borders are now scrambling to contain the fallout. You can hear the frustration in Maher's tone, not anger for its own sake, but a plea for sanity. He's reminding everyone what liberalism was supposed to mean. It wasn't about slogans or chaos, it was about real compassion and real solutions. True liberalism, he says, is about helping people rebuild their lives, not pretending to care while leaving them stranded in overcrowded shelters or sleeping under bridges. Can everyone please stop pretending? He asks. And that hits home, because it captures the truth about what's been happening. Endless posturing, endless noise, and almost no real action.
The same principle as I was saying before about like the reverse of what liberalism really is. Liberalism is, for the sake of humanity and compassion, can we get these people off the streets? And woke is, how dare you ask them to move? This is their home.
They have rights.
No, it's not. There's easily a better solution to this. But instead they put them in hotels? That's your answer, hotels? Could everybody just stop?
Meanwhile, their policies are only making the crisis worse. Let's be real, putting migrants in hotels isn't a strategy, it's a band. It doesn't solve anything. Spending massive amounts of taxpayer money without fixing the underlying problems isn't compassion, it's avoidance. Real compassion means tackling the root causes of illegal immigration, things like mental health struggles, poverty, addiction, and corrupt governments that force people to flee in the first place. But that kind of work takes effort, and effort isn't as easy as handing out hotel keys and calling it progress. It's simpler to spend money than to solve problems, and that's exactly what's happening. This is where Maher's criticism cuts deeper. He calls out the double standards of liberal cities that once bragged about being sanctuaries. As he puts it, don't pretend to care about migrants if you're only sympathetic from a distance. Because the moment those buses started showing up in New York, Chicago, and Massachusetts, all that compassion seemed to disappear overnight. Suddenly, being a sanctuary city didn't sound so noble after all.
Don't pretend that you love migrants so much, and then when we send them to you, you don't like them. You know?
Mm-hmm.
You're full of... And we can see that. Yeah, you like them when it wasn't your problem because you're not a border state. And then when they show up in Chicago and New York, you're like, what is going on?
Remember when New York's Eric Adams and Chicago's Lori Lightfoot couldn't stop bragging about how welcoming their cities were? They loved the spotlight. We care. We have empathy. We welcome everyone, they said. It became part of their image, their proud slogan. But that tune changed fast once the buses started rolling in. Chaos erupted almost overnight. Neighborhoods grew tense, shelters overflowed, and city budgets spiraled out of control. The same leaders who once preached open borders suddenly sounded desperate for help. Now Adams is begging Washington for federal support, declaring that New York has run out of space and calling states of emergency. The irony couldn't be more striking. The very person who championed open-door policies a year ago is now pleading for limits and control. If there's ever been a clearer case of reality exposing rhetoric, this is it. And Bill Maher isn't letting up. He's calling out the hypocrisy of blue state leaders who once scolded Arizona and Texas for enforcing border laws, labeling them as cruel or racist. Yet, the moment those same migrants arrived on their own doorsteps, panic set in. Suddenly, the compassion vanished. Instead of welcoming them, these leaders scrambled to move the newcomers elsewhere, literally buying plane tickets to send them away. Think about that for a second. They called it a humanitarian effort, but the message was clear. Anywhere but here. That's not compassion. That's chaos disguised as kindness. Maher says what everyone's already thinking: it's not leadership, it's performance. Political theater dressed up as empathy. And the audience is no longer fooled. They preach inclusivity and empathy, but mostly as a performance. The moment their own policies start to crumble, they retreat, hoping voters won't notice the mess they've created. But people are noticing now. Bill Maher made it crystal clear. Real liberalism used to be about progress and practical solutions. You don't achieve progress by ignoring pain. You achieve it by fixing what's broken. That's what true compassion looks like: helping the homeless find stability, not turning a blind eye to illegal crossings out of fear of online backlash. Real leadership means facing tough truths and making hard choices, even when it's unpopular on social media. And now, Maher is backing his arguments with cold, undeniable facts. The very people the left claims to defend are now the ones demanding stronger borders. And why? Because they understand what real chaos looks like. Many of them came here the right way, following every rule, working hard to build a life, and now they're watching the system unravel under the weight of unchecked illegal entry. They didn't come to see America crumble because of reckless policies. Unlike privileged activists shouting from comfort, these immigrants know the value of order. They understand that kindness without boundaries isn't compassion, it's confusion. And out of that confusion, chaos grows. Yet the hypocrisy rolls on. The same Democrats who love to lecture about moral responsibility suddenly go silent when it comes to border security, asylum abuse, or overcrowded cities. They know the truth but stay quiet, afraid of offending the loudest voices in their own ranks. Meanwhile, communities face rising populations, higher crime, and mounting pressure on housing and schools. Maher calls it what it is: plain political cowardice. Meanwhile, the so-called compassionate leaders are coming up with ideas that sound more like reality show gimmicks than real solutions. Have you heard what's happening in New York now? They're offering migrants free plane tickets to anywhere in the world. You couldn't make that up if you tried. Their message is basically, you can't stay here, but you don't have to go home either. And that's their grand solution. But of course, most migrants aren't taking the offer. They didn't risk their lives just to be sent somewhere else. They came here for America. So now, states like California and New York are trapped in a cycle of denial. They boast about their success while quietly drowning in the consequences of their own failed policies. This is where Maher delivers the hard truth. The issue was never about physical space, it's about resources. That one simple point cuts through every weak argument because it's undeniably true. Yes, America has plenty of land. What it doesn't have is endless classrooms, hospital beds, housing, or money. You can't keep insisting there's room when hospitals are overflowing, schools are struggling, and families can't afford a place to live. Compassion without the capacity to sustain it isn't noble, it's irresponsible. This isn't just a political debate anymore. It's a national crisis.